That other gentleman you see right there with me is the one and only Jeff Goodman. If you are listening to this in the podcast feeds, just give us one moment as we wait for the stream to populate with people watching. I just hit the retweet button. Jeffrey hit that retweet button. Let's get people in here. Let's keep people listening. Let's get people talking.
I'm way ahead. I already hit the retweet button.
Oh, I know. I just noticed. I just got the notification. All right. So a lot of stuff happened yesterday.
Yeah, including you being upset with the Liberty assistant coach.
Oh, no, that happened this morning.
I know. You're going off. Poor Brad Soucy is feeling the wrath of Rob Doster this morning.
Poor Brad.
Well, listen. I get it.
You know what? Let's close that box. Let's throw that one out for a later feed.
All right, done.
All right. The craziest thing that happened yesterday was it Shaka Smart and Texas going into Fog Allen Fieldhouse and winning by 25. Was it West Virginia losing at home or losing to Oklahoma after they were down by 18? Was it Oklahoma State going into Texas Tech and beating the Red Raiders despite the fact that Cade Cunningham fouled out in the second half? Was it the Alabama Crimson Tide going into Knoxville and knocking off my Tennessee Volunteers?
Yes, because you've already given Tennessee the national title. So
man, that was so brutal. That one was
from
so
your
brutal.
standpoint, it has to be that one. Alabama going to Tennessee and beating for the rest of the college basketball world. For us, normal human beings, it was Texas going into Kansas and beating the living crap out of Bill Self and the Jayhawks, who, again, I've said from day one, they're not exceptionally talented. And I think you agree with me about Kansas. Mm-hmm. Texas is the more talented team on the floor yesterday. However, still, when you go to Kansas and give Bill Self the worst home loss of his career, listen, I don't care who you got in the court there. I don't care how bad it is recruiting. And it has. It's gotten bad. Like, Kansas fans don't want to admit it, but the NCAA investigation has finally caught up to the Jayhawks. Like, they've got good players, but they don't have studs. Like, Christian Brown is a good player, but you don't want Christian Brown to be the guy that has to take, like, a final shot or, and like Jalen Wilson's a good player, but not a guy that you can just say, give the ball to, go make a play. They don't have one of those, I guess.
How many times over the course of this season on this podcast are we going to have to listen to you make the same point about Kansas?
All right, move on. When Kansas loses by 100 at home.
No, you're right. But you're right. You're right. Like, but I'm just like, it's the same thing. Like, I know. And maybe it's just because you have to sit there and get berated by Kansas fans on Twitter all day that you're just like, shut
although yesterday they were kind of quiet. Rob, I got to say, yesterday I didn't hear a peep from any of them because I think they've finally come to the realization that, yes, this team is not as talented. I get that they got Devontae Graham, when he signed from App State. I get that they've gotten mid-major guys and turned them into – and that's the beauty of Bill Self and his staff. But I don't know if he can do it with this group. I'm not sure he can get him to the Final Four. I'm not saying never. Listen, I'm not discounting him. He's a hell of a coach. They have enough good players. But, again, it was alarming to watch Texas. And you called it. I'll give you credit. You did call it, and you said, listen, the matchup here, Texas got so many live bodies and athletic dudes and guys who could just make plays, and Kansas really doesn't have those.
Yeah, I mean, that's the big thing. We saw a team that had actual first-round NBA talent on their roster, and we saw a team that had an actual real-live senior leader point guard on their roster in Texas. And it also helped that Texas shot the ball in the second half, the way that Kansas shot the ball against West Virginia. And sometimes there's just going to be games where one team hits their first 6 threes in the second half and the other team shoot, what were they, 3 for 20 from three?
And when Mitch Lightfoot is your rim protector, you're in fucking
trouble. Well, I mean, that was the biggest problem, is that David McCormick was utterly ineffective. Like, he was completely ineffective. Let's talk about – I do want to talk about Texas before we move on, because – I wrote about this last night in my newsletter, The Rebound, and Shaka Smart, I think that you could probably make the argument pretty fairly that the only reason he is still right now the Texas coach is because he had such a big buyout. And, like, honestly, he didn't even have a buyout. He just had a fully guaranteed contract. And Texas was not about to spend, as of last, if they were going to fire Shaka in March, it would have cost them $10.5 million. Yeah. And he basically had a deal that was when he signed it, correct me if I'm wrong, but when he signed it in 2016, it was $3 million, and every year it went up by 0.1 million. So I think like if they were going to fire him after 2019, it would have been like 14 million or so. The year before that would have been 7. Whatever it is.
I was at the Big 12 tournament 2 years ago, and I went up to Chris Del Conte after the game, their AD, and he was very non-committal at that point. It was that close to him firing Shaka Smart 2 years ago. Okay, because
they needed that money. They needed that money. I mean, we're in a pandemic, and they just spent $25 million getting rid of.
That was 2 years ago. That was before the pandemic. This was 2 years ago that they were thinking about firing him. Last year, they were fighting to get in. And you wrote this in your newsletter. They were fighting to get in the NCAA tournament. They were playing Texas Tech in their first Big 12 tournament game, and that was almost a knockout game. It potentially could have been a knockout game. And if Shaka doesn't win that game against Chris Beard, there's a chance. Again, he's gone 2 years ago. There's a chance if it's not for the money last year. And now the dude is number 4 in the country, according to my latest top 25. It's crazy. You don't see this. You just don't see a guy get off the hot seat like this. And
yeah, and I want to make a point too. And I know that when I say this, you're going to jump down my throat and you're going to say I'm saying that Shaka is going to be the best coach in college basketball. That's not what I'm saying. But Mike Krzyzewski, right? In his first 5 years, it took him 4 years to get Duke to the NCAA tournament. It took him 5 years to win an NCAA tournament game. And it wasn't until season 6 when he had Johnny Dawkins and Mark Allery and that guy, whatever that guy's name is on TV, Jay Bias, something like that. It took him until year 6 when he had those guys on the roster to get that thing rolling, right? John Calipari's first 5 years at Memphis, he went to 2 NCAA tournaments, went to 3 NITs, right? He was not very good.
Nope.
Jay Wright, it took him 4 years to get to the NCAA tournament with Villanova, and it wasn't until year 5 that he really broke through and got to an Elite 8. Yeah. For Cal and K, it was year 6, and those are probably the 3 most successful coaches in college basketball over the last decade. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you could make the argument that those are the top 3 most successful guys in the 2010s. So I don't know if Shaka can end up getting there. I don't know if this thing that Texas is building is sustainable. You know, they're going to lose Greg Brown. They're going to lose Kai Jones. Matt Coleman's gone. Jericho Sims is gone. And there's not – well, he can get another year. And a lot of these guys can if Matt Coleman wants another year, he can come back.
I got to figure Andrew Jones will leave. You know, listen, the team's going to be completely new, but can he take advantage of this success?
Yes,
and now,
that's the thing.
And now get dudes again because Texas is loaded with talent. It'll be interesting. Or does he get the hell out of there and say, you know what, Austin's not for me. I'm gonna use this. Think about this. He's gonna be hot as hell again after this year if they do what we think they may do. What if they go to a Final Four this year and there's changes at some of these big time programs? Because of the federal and NCAA investigations, do things pop that he can take advantage and get a job that, frankly, fits him a little bit better? I don't know. Maybe.
All I wanted to point out is that sometimes it takes a while for these guys to get things going. Sometimes part of it is luck. Sometimes part of it is, every time Shaka found some diamond in the rough, whether it was Jared Allen or Jackson Hayes, they would end up being too good too quickly. Sometimes it was a matter of, in 2017, his leading scorer transferred in the middle of the year. In 2018, his leading scorer ended up developing leukemia 10 games into the season. Isaiah Taylor left when he still had a year of eligibility left. Yep. So my point is that weird things happen in college basketball, and sometimes it takes guys a while to get it going. I've gotten to know Shaka well enough that I like him. So I don't think that he is necessarily the way that he portrays the relationship with his players, I think is actually real. I don't think that that's just some media front. Yeah. So I'm happy to see him doing well, and I'm glad that he was able to stick around.
Me too. I'm very happy to see him doing well, and I really like watching that team. I certainly like watching him yesterday.
I love watching Kai Jones, baby. He's different. He is different. Yeah. All right. So the other game that we called on this stream yesterday was the Kentucky Wildcats. Yeah. They knocked off Mississippi State, and Dante Allen.
I had it, didn't I?
Dante Allen. How about this? This is one of my favorite stats of college basketball this year. Dante Allen had 19 minutes played entering yesterday. 19 on the whole season. You know what he did yesterday? He played 32 minutes. He scored 23 points. He hit 7 threes, 7 for 11 from deep. And I'll let you go, but I want to set the framework for this for people that are listening. Dante Allen is a Kentucky kid. He went to Pendleton County High School. He's from Falmouth, Kentucky. He grew up a Kentucky fan. Everybody that's watching this feed right now probably grew up a college basketball fan if you're watching something like this on a Sunday morning, right? Yeah. Which means that at some point when you were a kid, you had those dreams where you came in off the bench and you buried 6 or 7 threes for your favorite college basketball program and led them to a win, ending a 6-game winning streak, something like that, right? That's Dante Allen just lived out every college basketball fan's dream, like every kid's dream. And I just think it's so cool. I'm so happy for him. Based on the way that things have gone for him there, he wasn't able to get off the bench when Cal was coaching, so he had to wait until Terrence Clark got injured and Coach Cal got run to be able to get in the game. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't want to overstate it, but I do think that making – the biggest thing with this Kentucky team is they couldn't make shots. Right. And since they couldn't make shots, there was no space for anybody in the post. There was no space for BJ Boston to be able to operate. I think that having space will make it easier for Devin Askew to acclimate to the college level. So
now the big question is, Rob, was this a one-off or is this going to be Dante Allen, who is, I think it was cool, and I tweeted this. ESPN didn't have him ranked. They've signed 11 players in the last 2 years. He's the only one that wasn't ranked on ESPN. I also said he wasn't ranked on 24/7, and Brian Snow jumped down my throat because if you look, they list the composite ranking. I don't know why the hell they list the composite ranking anyway. If I'm 24/7, all I care about is my own ranking.
Say hi, Jeff. Say hi,
hello.
Jeff. We have a guest today. Say hi, Jeff. All right, yeah, keep going. So, I love how Brian Snow was all offended that you're like, look, we had him in the top 100. He was 99. That's 99, how good he was. We had him 99.
Exactly, dude. You barely had him in. Okay. Anyway, the big question mark is twofold. It's an awesome story and it's great for Dante Allen. But now the big question is, what does this do for Kentucky? Right? Is this a one-off? Is Dante Allen going to be a guy who's going to be able to make shots consistently? And what happens when Terrence Clark comes back? Like, that's the part that's going to be the most intriguing to all this because Terrence Clark came in as a one and done. He's been pretty bad. Now, so has Brandon Boston. Both of those guys have not been good. Brandon Boston shooting, like 10% from three? I mean, it's unbelievable. So anyway, what do you do now when Clark comes back? How does this work? Because Terrence Clark firmly came here thinking he's a one and done. So did Brandon Boston. I don't know, but the other part, they got Vandy at home, so they should be able to take advantage and win that one. Vandy stinks, as I've told you. I can find 3 other dudes to go with us, and we can beat Vandy. And then they got a tough stretch, but they can get some momentum. They can get some confidence here with Vandy. And like you said, if Dante Allen is a weapon now, makes life so much easier for some of those other dudes.
So I don't think that I don't think he's going to be averaging 23 points a game and hitting 7 threes on every given night. But I do think
a couple threes a game.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing is, again, it's the threat of him being able to make that shot that matters more than actually making the shots. Because if his threat is out there, that's when it creates the space because defenses have to pay attention to you. That's what opens up everything else for everybody else. And I think that I think it'll make life easier for BJ Boston. Like, look, I want to give him credit too because he got benched for some dude that no one's that people outside of Kentucky have never heard of.
Great team.
And he was losing on the bench, going nuts, like cheering people on. So I know
credit.
that we've speculated on this pod about how well people in that Kentucky team get along. Yeah. And you got to give all the credit in the world to BJ Boston. Like, that alleviated a lot of concerns that I had about things like that for him. Just seeing the way that he reacted on the bench to a teammate having a huge game. So shout out to Dante Allen, man. That was awesome. All right, let's do a couple quick hitters and then we'll get out of here. First and foremost, Tennessee losing to Alabama. Give me your 30-second takeaway.
Listen, I think Alabama is a team that if they can become more consistent and get good point guard play and make shots and defend fairly well, they're dangerous. Now, the big question is, can they be consistent? Like at their peak, we just saw what they can do. They can beat just about any team in the country. In their valley, they can lose to just about anybody. Like they've just got to be consistent. I like them. You know that. I've liked them from the get-go, from before the season. I think they have wings that can make shots. They've got a veteran big, and I just think they need solid point guard play, stable, like not even great. Just make good decisions and then guard. If I'm Nate Oates, I'm spending like 90% of my time in practice on defense.
Yes, I agree with that. For me, I think this was a great matchup for Alabama, and I think they just executed perfectly. The way that you beat Tennessee, you beat them down the floor so they can't get a set defense. You got to make threes over the top of their defense because that's what they want you to do is shoot contested threes. Alabama was 10 for 20 from three after shooting 30% from three entering the season, and they played great defense. Tennessee shot 31% from the floor and 4 for 21 from three. And, I mean, when it comes down to it, that there were three things that Alabama had to do and execute well to win that game, and they did all three of them. You got to give them credit. Great win. And shout out to that coaching staff. That was the first. They may or may not know how we've talked about Tennessee and how we've talked about
Brian
Alabama.
Hodgson says he wanted to pass along a message to you.
Hey. Oh, I got a FaceTime from the locker room after the upset win. So shout out to Brian Hodgson. Good win. Congrats, guys. All right, Missouri went into Fayetteville and knocked off Arkansas. What is your give me your 15-second takeaway? We got to go quicker on these.
Yeah, I feel good. I feel good about Missouri. I think they're for real, and they've shown that. Arkansas is a good team. Anytime you get a road win like that, they've got some good wins now. I mean, look at Missouri's resume; it's really impressive. Oregon, I know Oregon wasn't whole at that point. Illinois, and now at Arkansas. Those three, you can match those three against anybody's three, and they're right there.
Yep. Jeremiah Tillman beat the hell out of Connor Vanover. Like it was just it looked like they should not be playing the same sport.
It was like me against Borzello in the post.
It really was. It was bad, man. All right, Iowa Rutgers. I'll give you my quick takeaway. Jordan Bohannon, love seeing him come in and make big shots and make big plays.
Yep.
I think he plays with a level of like FU swagger that I think college basketball needs. He's an entertaining player. He raises Iowa's ceiling, and anytime that you can have the National Player of the Year on a team that can win a national title, it's a good thing. So Jordan Bohannon made 3 big shots down the stretch, finished with 13 and 4 yesterday. So great win, great performance by Jordan Bohannon. We are out of Jeff Goodman is gone, but I'll roll through a couple more things real quick. Another one, Cade Cunningham is already getting all-star whistles. You saw the foul call that he got on the 3. We had Christian Bishop landing a buzzer-beating poster dunk for the win at Providence. I don't know if you saw it, Jeff, but our Welcome to the J podcast with Jahen's Manigat.
Yeah.
I was live with him getting ready for the live stream.
Really?
And I was about a minute ahead, so I watched it happen, and I videoed his reaction on the broadcast. It was pretty close. Like, oh damn!
By the way, you cannot go through yesterday's action without mentioning Colorado State's win.
I was about to say that's the last one I got right here. Is Colorado State came back from 33-7 down in the first half. They were down 26 points in the first half to a borderline top 25 team, and they came back and they won 70-67. They got a 3 from a guy who I've never even heard of before. I don't even know. John Tanji, I guess his name is.
Yeah, I don't know. But
they were down 3 with 12 seconds left, and he hit a 3 from the corner and won 4-point play for the win. The Fighting Nico Medveds, baby. The Fighting Nico Medveds. Big win.
Big win. All right, let's move on. Let's move on to today's action here.
Okay, so the 2 big games of the day are Ohio State and Minnesota, and then Northwestern against Michigan. Wisconsin, Penn State has been postponed. We will not have that game today. But again, we got two ranked showdowns in the Big Ten. I love the Big Ten this year. It's so good. Let's start with Ohio State and Minnesota. What do you got there, Jeffrey?
I like Minnesota. I like Minnesota in this one. I think this is a toss-up game. Ohio State's favored by 1. I think Minnesota, again, I'll say it over and over and over. Marcus Carr, best player in the court. And I think you've got him. You've got Liam Robbins. You've got other guys that I think are good pieces. And it's hard to win at the barn. It is. It's hard to win at the barn. I don't care if there's fans there or not.
They got that weird It's like a weird race court. Oh, shout out to the notifications! All right,
I forgot some notice.
Yeah. We got some notice today, guys. No, I'm with you. Minnesota's 2 losses. They've gotten their ass kicked on the road.
Yeah.
They've had a couple of really nice wins at home. And I do think that, like, I just want to be on the side of Marcus Carr when he's getting points at home against a team that I don't know is actually better than them.
Right, they're solid. Ohio State's a solid team. I think Minnesota is honestly as good, if not better, and they're getting points at home. I mean, it screams a little bit sucker line, other than the fact that Ohio State gets more credibility. And I think that's why the line is the way it is. Minnesota won't get credibility.
Yeah, and it's also, if you look at some of the power rankings, that's kind of in line with where the metrics have them. I do think that that Minnesota's kind of like Missouri, in where their ranking has been a little bit inflated based off of some of the wins that they've had. Like, Minnesota is 34th on KenPom right now. Missouri entered yesterday outside the top 40 in KenPom. So it's just, as we've mentioned, part of the way that these lines are released is based off what the metrics project. So if you can find places where teams are a little bit better than what their metrics are right now early in the season, then those are great spots to kind of exploit value. So I think Minnesota is a little bit better than 34th in the country. I don't think that Ohio State is 11th in the country, which is what KenPom has. So Minnesota getting points at home in the spot, I think, is great value. Northwestern is going into Michigan in the Battle of the Nerds in the Big Ten. Michigan is favored by 8.5. I believe that total is 145. Michigan is still undefeated. This is probably going to be the toughest opponent that they played this season. Do you think that's fair?
Yeah, well, they haven't played anybody really, right? Who have they played? They played Maryland. No, Maryland.
Maryland. They won at Maryland. They won at Nebraska. They beat Penn State at home.
Right.
So it's either like Northwestern or UCF.
Yeah,
so.
I mean UCF. Listen, they have one good win against Florida State, and they've come down to earth. So yeah, my big play with Michigan is I just don't know how good. I think they're going to be good. They just haven't beaten anybody yet. So like all you Michigan fans complaining to me on Twitter, shut the hell up until you beat somebody of any relevance. Like, you haven't beaten anybody. Like, they want to be ranked like 10. It's like just enough. So
I need to teach you how to use that mute button. The mute button is your best friend on Twitter. Because if you just hit that mute button, and you'll never see any of these people tweeting at you.
Knuckleheads again. I know. One of the knuckleheads is probably one of my nephews who went to Michigan.
Yeah. The tough thing about you're taking the points. The tough thing about this matchup to me is that a lot of it relies on who wins the battle between, like, at the 5 spot, where Michigan has like kind of like a true throwback low post big in Hunter Dickinson, and we've talked about it before. But Northwestern wants to play that like 5-out style, and I think this is going to be a really good test to see for NBA value. As weird as it sounds, I think that playing against Northwestern is going to be a really good test for NBA evaluators that want to see what Hunter Dickinson can do against the spread offense. Like, he's going to have to guard Pete Nance away from the basket when they're in their man. So I think it's going to be a good test. I think that he's going to be able to do it. I tend to lean towards Michigan in this spot. I kind of feel like Northwestern is going to, I was all in on them before. I told Deion Thomas, our Illinois host, that Northwestern was going to end up winning the Big Ten. I think I might have gone a little bit overboard on that, but I think they come back to earth here. And I think that Michigan is legit. Like, I think that they are.
I do too. I think they're good.
No record says.
I'm with you. I just think let's not get carried away until you beat somebody. Then you can do this. You can pump out your chest, and once you beat an actual top 25 team, like Maryland is probably not a tournament team. Can we agree on that? Probably not.
If they keep winning at places like Wisconsin, they are.
Right, but I know. I feel like in the Big Ten, you're going to have a bunch of those type wins, right? Wins that you're like, whoa, they got that one. And then you're going to have a bunch of the key is going to be staying away from those like 4-game losing streaks. And I think Maryland, again, I just don't see them as a top. Can they get in? Yeah, they get in. Like, if they finish in the top 10 in the Big Ten, they probably get in the NCAA tournament this year. But I'm taking the points with Northwestern. What else we got? Houston at SMU.
Bounce back spot for Houston. What do you think?
Well, listen, I'm worried that Houston may not have a key player for this game. That's the only thing I'll say. I can't say much more than that. But I don't think they're going to have a key player in this game. But that doesn't – listen, it's only 2.5, and I don't think SMU's for real. So on one hand, they don't have that key player. On the other hand, I say to myself, like, man, whether or not he's going to play or not, I still like Houston only giving 2.5. I don't – I'm staying away from it. I'm staying away, period.
Yeah, and it's also – they've been – I'm trying to think of how I can phrase this without making obvious who we're talking about. So I'll just
stay away.
Let's just say I'm not worried about that piece missing. I think I would tend to agree with your take. It's in that it's Houston here. The one thing that I'm worried about though is like Kendrick Davis has been really, really good, and SMU has a whole bunch of athletes, and they don't mind kind of playing that like the style that can match with the four guards that Houston wants to play. So I
just think you got Kelvin, man. Like I just think Kelvin's such a good coach. I'm not taking the points there. I'm just not like I'll stay
it's not enough.
I got a few points. The fourth best game. There's a good mid-major game. I hope you have it circled.
What do you got?
Well, Southern Illinois at Drake. Like Drake's undefeated. No, it's a good game. Drake's undefeated. Darian DeVries has done a great job building that thing back up. It's like the first time they've been relevant since Keno Davis.
Yeah.
Right?
I love how you're like, we have a really good mid-major game today, and you go and pick the one where the line is 12 points.
It shouldn't be 12. That's why I'm saying I'm taking the Salukis. I'm taking Brian Mullins and the Salukis to cover the 12. Absolutely. I really like that, actually. Really like it. How about that?
There you go. There's your mid-major game of the day from the one and only Jeffrey Goodman. You got anything else for me, Jeff?
I do. I got two more for you. Two more.
Okay, hit me.
Georgia Tech given 9.5 against Wake. Wake's undermanned. They haven't, they have the shutdown. They haven't done anything in a while. I think Georgia Tech here could pound Wake. It could be an embarrassing outcome.
I really like that. The other one that I had circled is. Do we know if Ryan Daly is going to be back today?
He's not going to play.
Then I like Rhode Island minus 11 against St. Joe's at home.
I like that, and I like Monmouth getting 3 against a Siena team that is the second to last active Division I team to play a game. You know who the last one is now, Robert?
Merrimack.
They play Thursday against Sacred Heart. My big dilemma: do I go for the final? It's like 20 minutes down the road. I don't go.
No, why would you go to a basketball game right now?
Huge game. It's a last active Division team to play a game.
Go to a basketball game? I cannot imagine. Honestly, I know that this is going to be entirely hypocritical because we're sitting here and like we're trying to build a business off of watching these basketball games. But like, why would you want to be inside in a contained space with that many people right now?
Well, there won't be people. I mean, nobody's going to be there. It'll be me, Merrimack, and Anthony Latina and Sacred Heart, and that'll be it.
Yeah.
Like Joe Gallo isn't going anywhere near me. Joe, hey.
I wouldn't want to go anywhere near you either. And that was before the coronavirus came out.
All right, there you have it. All right, so I got
what are your picks today, Jeff? What do you got?
I got Monmouth, Minnesota, Southern Illinois, Georgia Tech, Northwestern. Those are my 5.
I'm gonna follow you on Monmouth. I'm gonna follow you on Georgia Tech. I have St. Joe's. I'm sorry, I have Rhode Island, not St. Joe's. Wow. I have Rhode Island. I have Minnesota, and I am going to go with Houston. I'm not going to have any money. If I had to pick someone in that Michigan Northwestern game, it would be Michigan. But I'm not going to have anyone in that because I feel like it's too much. I just don't know enough.
By the way, we can't end this without reading Ben Hirsch's comments on the chat. Go check him out. You'll laugh. Ben says, Rob, do you think you can do a better job of not making it so obvious that you steal most of your material from Gary Parrish and Matt Norlander?
What did I steal?
I don't know. Ben, what did he steal? I mean, nobody steals anything from Parrish and Norlander.
What did I steal from Norlander and Parrish today?
I mean, the only thing you could steal from Parrish is stories and their personal stories and Newslander. I mean, if you want to steal something, you could steal like a scheduling, I don't know, tweet or something like that. Maybe that the fighting. What fighting? What fighting, Ben?
The fighting?
Fighting. I don't know. I'm not sure what he means. Ben, quick. The fighting. What does the fighting mean?
What the hell are you talking about,
Ben? We're curious. Because anything I can rip on Rob for, if there is actual plagiarism here, it would be we could certainly pass it along to Parrish and Norlander. I think Ben hopefully is typing right now. You said shout out.
I said shout out. So I can't say shout out.
Oh my God!
So I can't say shout out, and I can't say fighting because Norlander and Parrish have said it before.
The fighting? What? I don't know what the fighting means. Saying the fight.
I have no.
Insert coach. Fighting? I don't know what this means. No idea. Anyway, Ben, if you need to get a hold of Rob to give the true info, it's rob.doster@gmail.com. Send it over.
My God. Oh, my God.
He'll coach his name. I still don't know what you're saying, Ben. We still have no idea.
You know what it is? It's because I said I don't even know who we were talking about. Did I say like the fighting? Who was it? The fighting great guards or something? Who were we? I don't remember who we were talking about.
That's not exactly.
Because Norlander or Parrish are the first people to ever come up with saying the fighting great guards or the fighting whatevers. Come on, man. Ben,